We're going to look at a very interesting in this week's Torah portion, Parshat Teitze. We're in Deuteronomy chapter 22. This is verse 8. Ki tivne bait chadash, when you shall build a new house, ve'asita ma'akeh legagecha, you shall make a fence on the roof, around the roof, velo tasim damim beveitecha, so that there should not be blood shed in your home, ki pola nofel mimenu, when or if someone should fall from the roof. So a very straightforward idea, straightforward mitzvah, that when you build a new house, you have to put a fence around the roof so that no one falls from it, and the sort of blood would be on your hands, as it were, for not taking proper precautions to protect against this. So there's a variety of different questions asked on this mitzvah. For instance, what types of roofs does this apply to? There's many houses in America that are not just horizontal, but have a verticality. They're sloped, they come to a point. So those roofs, seemingly this is not applicable because people don't walk on those types of roofs. It seems to only apply to roofs that are flat, where people spend time up there. And there are houses in America that are also like that. Certainly, maybe I associate that more with homes in Eretz Yisrael, in Israel, but it would be applicable anywhere. Another question is, on who does this mitzvah apply, or on whom does it devolve? It says when you build a new house, many people who have homes don't build them themselves. There are people that do that, but many don't. And some people don't know how to build a fence. So you would maybe hire someone to do this. Whose mitzvah is it? Is it the builder? Is it the owner of the house? So that's an interesting question. We're going to look at another question, which is whether this mitzvah has a bracha, has a blessing that would be pronounced upon doing this mitzvah. The Torah Temimah, the commentary that we're looking at this year on every Parsha, he, on this verse, quotes the following from the Sifri. Ve'asita, when it says, you shall make. Zu mitzvah ta'aseh. This is a positive commandment. You should make. And then the conclusion of the verse, velo tasim damim beveitecha, that there should not be blood shed in your home. Zo mitzvat lo taseh. This is the prohibition. So according to this midrash from the Sifrei, there is two mitzvahs, they're inverse. They're the two sides of the same coin, but two mitzvahs in this one verse. One's the positive, one's the negative. The positive is make a fence on the roof. The negative is don't allow there to be blood shed in your home, which means generally don't allow there to be stumbling blocks or things that could cause harm or injuries to others in the area under your control. So based on that, the Torah Temimah is going to explore the question of whether there is a blessing said. So let's read the Torah Temimah. First, he says, Ayin Barambam. He quotes Maimonides, Parak Yud Aleph Halacha Chet, in chapter 11, Law 8, in his work Mishnah Torah, in the section on brachot, blessings. Dibsha'at asiyat ma'akeh, mevarech asher kidshanu mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asot ma'akeh. Maimonides says, indeed, there is a blessing said here, which is the standard opening. Blessed is God who commanded us and sanctified us in the mitzvah of la'asot ma'akeh, to make a fence on the roof. However, now the Torah Temimah notes, v'nosei kelim lo ha'eri makor ladin zeh. But the commentators on Maimonides can't find a source for that blessing. So where did he get this idea? Where did Maimonides, and indeed most other Rishonim, other medieval commentators, also don't seem to think there's a blessing said on this action? V'im svarat atzmohi kashetuva. Now, the Torah Temimah was going to note something very interesting. What if this is maybe Maimonides just intuited on his own that there should be such a blessing on this mitzvah. But if so, soter divrei atzmo be'oto haperek. But if that's true, then Maimonides is actually contradicting something he himself said in that same chapter in the Mishnah Torah. As he writes, and now Torah Temimah is going to quote Maimonides again, Lama ein mavarchin al netilat yadayim ba'achrona. Why is it, elsewhere asks Maimonides, that we don't, at the end of the meal, there's something called, so people, when there's a meal where there's bread, before the meal, you wash your hands, and there's the blessing of al netilat yadayim. But there's also the custom that after the meal, you also wash your hands. We call this, it's the after waters, mayim achronim. Why do we not make the blessing, why is there no blessing on the washing of the hands after the meal? Says Maimonides, mipnei shelo chayav b'devar zeh ela mipnei hasakana, because washing your hands after the meal there's an idea that called sakana. There's a danger if you don't wash your hands, because this comes from an idea that there was a type of salt that could be on your food, and if you were to later touch your face or touch your mouth, it could injure you. So you're washing your hands after the meal to get this schmutz, this salt, off your body, which could be dangerous. And then, now here's the key line, Udvarim shehem mishum sakana ein mevarchin aleihem. And Maimonides claims that anything that we do because of a possible danger, we don't make a blessing on account of it. Okay, so that's what Maimonides says elsewhere. But wait a sec, you can already see the question the Torah Temimah is going to ask. Because what is the point of the mitzvah of putting a fence on your roof? Halo kol inyan makem b'forosh b'Torah shehu mishum sakana. It's quite clear that the mitzvah of putting a fence on your roof is exactly because of danger. It says so in the verse itself. It says, lest there not be blood, someone injured in your home. So how can he say in one place that we don't make a blessing on those things which are only out of danger, but then here on making the fence on your roof, which clearly is about danger, we do make a blessing? How could that be? And Torah Temimah goes on, V'dochek l'chalek de netilat yadayim havei sakana la'atzmo ma'ake sakana la'acherim. And don't say it's because, well, maybe you can make the distinction that when you're washing your hands, that's about danger to you, and you wouldn't make a blessing on that. But putting a fence on the roof is about danger to others, so maybe you would make a blessing there. He doesn't like that, so he leaves it as a question. So, and indeed, it is a good question. And this general idea of making blessings on things that are only you're doing to prevent danger, that you wouldn't make a blessing on them, is an interesting idea. And I think it raises a broader question, which is mitzvot commandments that are things that command us to do things which we instinctively or intuitively wouldn't do anyways, which you wouldn't have to be Jewish to do or not do these things. And I was looking in a different sefer, a different book, called the Aruch HaShulchan, which happens to be written by Rav Yechiel Epstein, the father of the author of the Torah Temimah, Rav Baruch Epstein. And on the same mitzvah, the father, Yechiel Epstein, in the Aruch HaShulchan, he says an interesting thing about the mitzvah of putting up a fence on the roof. He says as follows, Lo tiknu brachot al mitzvot sichliot. We don't, as a general rule, we don't make blessings on what he calls intellectual mitzvahs or logical, rational mitzvahs, meaning those mitzvahs that you would do normally. Mitzvot sichliot v'derech eretz sheyesh mehem bekol om v'lashon, things that any nation and any people of any language, all people would do this. Well, how does it apply here? If you have a roof that people are going to use, you don't have to be Jewish. You don't have to be commanded to put a fence around it. That's just common sense. V'lo tiknu levarech asher kishanu mitzvotav. So the sages did not say that, they didn't institute that we should make blessings on that category of mitzvahs. Ki im enam osim rak mipnei hasechel. If we would have rationally done them anyways. Mikol makom yesh behem asiyut ke'elu. Ubezeh atishaper kol ma shehekshu tzelamed daha shav yont. And then he lists a variety of other mitzvahs which we don't make blessings on them because we would have done them anyways. They're just rational mitzvahs. So what do we have to do left? He wants to try and nevertheless give justification for Maimonides, who is really the dat yachid, the one thinker who says really actually we should make a blessing on putting the fence on the roof. He says, Al makem avarchin dehi gam kein eina sichli de al pisha kol yishmor aholech sham et atzmo. He says an interesting thing, which is you might have actually thought that maybe it isn't intuitive to put a fence on the roof because what? We expect anyone who goes up to the roof to watch out for themselves. They have to take care of themselves. And maybe you wouldn't think the expectation is on the owner to put the fence around the roof. And therefore, because it's not necessarily intuitive or not necessarily logical or rational, there is room to say you could make a blessing on it. Very interesting idea. Just to learn about this mitzvah of ma'akeh legagecha, of putting a fence on your roof generally, and then this broader question of what we say blessings on or not, this notion of saying things which, if they could harm us, do we really need to say a blessing when we do something to remove them? Or is that just intuitive? And then so this broader category of those things which we were commanded that were nevertheless intuitive, and do they need a blessing or not, because we would have done them regardless. So both fascinating questions in Jewish thought. Always a pleasure learning with you. More next week.